I should let that play.
And we are back. I know it was Christmas, Christmas festive themed. I actually made this a couple years ago during December. It has the jingle bell, like because that's kind of where we are right now. We're in that vibe. Here we go.
Nice. You can you hear me all right? For sure. It's December 16th. We recording Lyrical Ones episode
We on 28.
28. It's
It
another good
is.
day. We wrapping up the year, y'all. We wrapping up the year, and I'm happy to be here. I go by Affluent. I got my co-host with me, Sineo.
Yeah,
We got
I was just
vibes.
feeling the festivities of the moment, right? Because um, I'm not gonna lie, I'm losing it. I am losing it. I am losing it. It is. This has been a year, and I'll be super honest. I'll be super upfront. Like, this is around the time that I lost my mother, right? So it's the same time period, right? It's only been a couple years. It was 2018. Here we are, 2020, 2 years later, and you know the association of the holidays. Right now, we can all talk about, oh, that's pagan. You celebrating trees. You crazy tripping. Blah blah blah. Capitalism, consumerism. Now, look, when I was 5, 6, 7, I didn't know nothing about that. I just knew this is what we was doing, and I knew how it made me feel. Right? If it was presents under the tree, it didn't matter if it came from Walgreens or if it came from like the church. I was happy to have it. Right? Didn't matter if it was the nicest wrapping paper or if it was a newspaper. Right? I was just happy to have it. I was thankful. Right? And it's this like mysticism. Right? You get everybody knows Santa Claus, Saint Nick, whatever his name is. Right? Now, of course, we all know the Coca Cola version, right? Big guy, red suit, whatever. Tim Allen falling off a roof, whatever.
Ho
We
ho
all
ho
know.
ho.
But yeah, the thing is, this time period is special to me, even in the midst of the most horriblest times. Even in the midst of me, like, this is probably the first one where I'm not necessarily super like going all out, like getting the tree. Nah, I didn't do it. Even a wreath. Nah, I didn't do it. Have I decorated? Nah, I didn't do it. I mean, yeah, it's different, but I am still reflective, still appreciative of the memories. And I'm over Zoom. I'm over the idea of sitting in these meetings, being at work all day, and I'm in my house, right? Like, people be like, turn your camera on. You're not welcome in my home. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you thought. My home is a sacred space. So if my presence isn't felt when I put on all the filters and put tape all over the camera, I don't know what to tell you, because there was no agreement to me saying you're welcome in my home. You're welcome to see my home, right? So it's like, chill out. I don't care how many months we got left of this thing. You ain't getting up in here. Now the thing is, this is a holiday season, and I think this would be a good opportunity to kind of reflect on that. But before we do that, Alfluent, how you doing? How you living? What's going on? I see the Dragon Ball. What's that? You got a bonnet on? I mean, you went from a do rag, you upgraded to a bonnet. I already told you before we got on there that you getting ready for the verses between Too Short and E40, because I'm like, you probably got your hair rolled up. You've already gone ghost ride the van or the ice cream truck. But either way, you gonna be ready. But how you doing?
I am ready for that versus. I'm been having to work on my cardio to kind of get in preparation. I had to take some furniture to storage to have the living room ready. It's it's a lot of preparation that's involved. Had to get an extra subwoofer. And I had to put post-it notes on my neighbors' doors. Like, this is what's happening. Like, I got I got no chill about it. Like, once you own a bonnet, I just feel like you just don't care about a lot of people's opinions no more. Um, and if you happen to wear it out in public, it's another level. It's another level. So here I am, um, not caring so much. about people's opinions. Uh, but I'm happy to be here. We live on Twitch. We live on Facebook Live, I think, and on YouTube. And it's the holiday season. I got new members of my family, young members of my family. I got a niece and a nephew, and I'm really excited about them. Not for the holiday season so much as just spending time and making time for them. It's like it's not that you don't have time. You make the time that you want. For people in your life, and it's really good to. I think this year has been something that's been really reflective and insightful for me and my personality. But I'm really like excited to make time for family and be more than a worker in society and a construct of the culture. To be a person, to be a brother, to be an uncle. It's to be a friend, to be a teacher, to be a student, to be a coach, to be a trainee, to train folks. It's all really nice. And I was supposed to bring my smoothie on deck today. I had a blackberry, blueberry, spinach, and oats protein smoothie. Got my carbs in late this evening, but it's got me right. So I'm in a good space. How you feeling?
Feeling like I should have had a smoothie. Feeling like I just missed hours. It's crazy. Like this is how the game go. I'm always late, classically, to get to air when we hear. And this was the first time where I was like, you know what? Even though I feel like I should work out before, I'm not. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna probably do it later. And then I was like, but I should get a protein like shake in. And I like cleaned out the shaker that I had. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna get. I looked at the time. I was like, all right, I'm gonna just hop on the screen. So beyond that, like, honestly, I'm in good spirits, good energies, good vibes. We had a good powwow talk beforehand before we got on here. And it's just you know trying to spread positivity and love, good vibes throughout the universe for everybody that's connected in the community, everybody that's everywhere. We just trying to pass on those good vibes because sometimes we get so wrapped up in our own circle. I feel like this is a way for us to cut through the noise or for us to kind of challenge that, right? Again, Lyrical Ones, right? Episode 28. But it's a part of lyrical opposition, right? And in that opposition, it's opposing kind of the systematic and standardized approaches to how we think about our lives and how we get trapped in these routines. And so, this is an opportunity for people to break away, to stop some of that noise that you get so wrapped up in and maybe see it from a different perspective or just get reacquainted or reaffirmed with what you already believe in and what you already feel. And so, with that, Affluent, take me back to one of your earliest, fondest Christmas memories, right? You get time off from school, you get to maybe see more family than you ever wished or hoped. And, depending on what environment you in, you probably was able to enjoy some type of gift giving. So tell me, what do you remember? Take us back. How old? What was this era like?
So it really was an era, more than a year. It was really an era where the matriarchs of my family, my grandmother and her sister, really held us down on the holidays and hosted us on Thanksgiving and Christmas. And Christmas Eve was always legit. I think for me, being able to have a camera and capture those moments as a photographer was really great. But handing that camera to my younger cousin when she was young and saying, "Here, take photos," was something that my older brother did for me. And since then, she now has her own camera, as a high school student. But when she was, 5, 6 years old, I handed her my camera and said, "Here, take some photos." Showed her how to, where the shutter was, showed her how to focus, and let her take some photos around the house. And I didn't know that would stick with her, that the interest would stay there, 10 years later, 10 years later, that she would, be interested in a similar fashion. But it was always great. I know one holiday season, because my family is large, uh, we had so much turkey for Thanksgiving that we didn't have turkey for Christmas. Because on Thanksgiving, we had 7 turkeys for about like 40 people. And very typical, like San Francisco way, like we had we let go of the houses, right? And so, right, it's not about good or bad. It's about change in tradition and adjustments, right? Creating new traditions, like having the intention to be there for each other regardless of what buildings are around, because we don't know what our future is like next year, what next holiday season will be like. Now the buildings don't even matter. We're mostly meeting digitally if possible, but we used to have people come from different parts of the planet really, and kind of come home. And now we have to create, a new feeling for home, right? Where it's in our communication and our intention and our um, our recollection of each other, and it's really different. But because I have those memories of us being together, it's kind of like our heritage, and we can retain that heritage regardless of the buildings that are around us now. Whatever four walls we're in, we can still keep the intention to meet and not give up meeting together, which is important for our future, for our communities, and for our identity. I think that I am a family person, and my family are family people, and that's something that was taught to us by our ancestors, our recent ancestors, but more so that they save the space for us to teach us to save a space for each other. And people always talk about it during the holidays, where people want to be a little bit more generous with their resources, but that's not the saving space or creating space for each other that the world needs. It's walking outside and acknowledging people exist instead of turning up headphones, assuming it's safe, because a lot of times it's not safe. There's very different uh, parameters for what safe is for men and women walking outside. But when it's safe for you to do so, as often as possible, like being aware of your surroundings, but also acknowledging that there are people who are not in transit to a roof over their head. They're the opposite, where they are kind of forever transient or continually transient and unhoused, and saving space to just acknowledge and see people, that they are there, is important. That if you have time, if you can lend the time and energy, or if you have the bandwidth to hear them out and just acknowledge that they're around, that they're seen, that may be the warmth that they need to get them to the new year, to help them get to spring. When people start to feel invisible, they start to behave that way, and they start to believe it when they feel it. And as much as we can, we're here in Lyrical Ones trying to remind people that their feelings are not invisible, their situations are not, and their perspective and their way of thinking and their desire to create and their hope to see something different than what's in the world today. You know, there's a community for it. And as we, you know, come to these last 3 weeks of the year, it's it's really exciting, I think, to find, you know, different ways to see each other. Um, that's been the interesting thing for me. It's like, okay, now I have to see people differently because I don't see them all the time. I'm not running across them, you know, coming across them so much. So what does that look like for me to be intentional about seeing people? Got to spend time with my siblings this year more so than I would have if I was working more. And so I'm not working. I guess I'm not working less. I'm working differently. My efforts and what the energy that I will put into my career has shifted to a more holistic approach to my life, and the lifestyle is more broad in how I distribute my energy and my focus and my intention to the things that are important to me in my life. But the holidays has always been something that's been about family more so than the the cultural uh, practices of institutions. Uh, like, regardless of what the holidays mean to people, it was time off work and time set aside to be with family. Like, you knew where you were supposed to be, regardless of what was going on in your life. You knew which house you was going to. And so now it's kind of being in the space of everybody better know the have you better know the Zoom link. And so that's like the difference now. It's like if you don't have a Zoom link, that's on you because you know we getting together. Yeah, like for you, home or socially, what was the holiday? What had been the holidays? You know, what kind of impact and what memories does the holidays have for you?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing that because it definitely highlights what I had come to know as far as holidays and family time. Because I come from a family that is, heavy on the matriarchy, right? Like, I think there was three three boys born, and it was probably like eight women, and it's crazy when you think about it. But like that's the auntie to uncle ratio, right? Like that includes my mom, but that's like kind of the ratio. And when you highlight a lot of things, like yeah, the house, right? The house, the go to, the one that we all
Hmm.
gonna meet up at, right? And when that's no
Right.
longer a part of the equation, how do we maneuver and how do we operate? And so, it highlights a lot of different memories. It provokes a lot of different feelings. But, just to take it back into being, I guess, the elementary school me and like remembering those moments and the essence of what that was, like, you know, it definitely is family, right? It's definitely having people coming over and, being able to like get together and see your cousin that you love that you probably ain't seen. Like, for me and my family, it was like we had cousins that we were like closer than cousins. We were like brothers, right? Like we were like brothers and sisters because a lot of us, there was a period of time when we almost all lived in the same house. Like, it was families in a room, right? Like
Yep.
I remember it was two beds in a room, and it was like me, my mom, my dad, my sister, all in this one room, right? And I'm little, right? I'm like, I don't understand, but this is family to me. This is what it means. And so, like, my cousin's next door, literally in the next room. So it's like I see you every day, and then there's a time when things change, things evolve. You no longer see them every day. You see them on the weekends, but when you gonna definitely see them is when you get them little 2 weeks off and you'll be like, oh, you gonna come over? Oh, you gonna come? Oh yeah, what'd you get? Oh yeah, bring that over. Oh yeah, let's play. Right? It's like we
Oh,
gonna
you
have
know it.
those exactly. You gonna have the moments, right? And so like for me, I remember like not knowing or learning later what a lot of this was, and like the amount of sacrifice and what was necessary to pull off these grandiose kind of like holiday moments, right? So like for me as a child, I was always, man, bring it out. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that is that's one of the ones I'm gonna get to. One of those holiday seasons I'm gonna get to, right? Because I'm gonna
Man.
tell you my relationship with that lovely console. But this holiday season was when, like, I remember I just got my hands on a Nintendo, and I was a little late to the party, but the thing was is like, it was wrapped in newspaper, and this was like people already starting to get Super Nintendos and Sega Genesis, and I'm sitting here, I just got my hands on Nintendo. I'm like juiced, right? My cousin put me on. I seen my cousin have it, but I didn't know at the time the reason why he was able to have it, or the reason why my other cousin was able to have it. You learn later what was the cause of those things for them to have an abundance. Whereas in my mind, it was like, I'm just happy I got one, regardless of the time period. I got one and it's mine now, right? And so I'm playing it to death. And the thing about it is remembering those memories of passing the controller, right? Like playing Mario and figuring out how to pass Mario, and like just going through the trials and tribulations of just trial and error, right? Or like I had Duck Hunt, right? So, just wilding out killing ducks, none of, I'm not about harming animals, but if we got to hunt, man, on. You know what I'm saying? It's a difference, right? Get your meat, put it in the freezer. But in this situation, it's all, it's in the analog electronic scope.
Right. But right, it is called duck hunt and not duck kill.
Duck hunt, exactly, right? And the dog get on your nerves when you miss. But again, right, these were the memories that were profound, right? That's like on the little kitty level. But then you think about like spending time with your aunties, spending time with your uncles, right? Having extra quality time to be able to like wake up and not have to depart from your parent if they were fortunate to have vacation time, right? Because that isn't always a thing, right? Sometimes your parents might have to work. And so you might just be sitting waiting for them to just get home because you're not going to school, right? So you just like, you don't even trip, but you're like really waiting to see them come home and to have that extra quality time because you ain't got a bedtime no more, or at least you fighting your bedtime. So you sitting there like trying to spend this extra time to be with the people you're close to have those memories and those moments of like eating so much, right? Like the food is different because like I don't know if you've experienced this. Like sometimes you get those like, at least in my where I come from, my family, it's like you get those special weekends where you get like you wake up and you smell biscuits in the morning, or you smell like bacon or
Yeah, yeah,
sausage
yeah.
or something.
Yeah,
But
we had
then
those rare occasions. Yes.
exactly, but during the holidays, it might happen twice. You might get it three
Facts.
times. You know what I'm saying? You might just get
Facts.
stack of pancakes out of nowhere and be like, "What am I? Is this? Am I rich? I am rich now. We have money because we have pancakes. I haven't had pancakes in who knows how long because I've been struggling with this cornflakes and sugar cereal situation for who
Man,
knows. And
for
this is not
for
even it's not
for
even
us,
cornflake. The box is in
no.
a bag. Okay, it's a different
Oh yes.
lifestyle. Be like,
That's
oh yeah,
right.
we be broke. All we got is cold cereal. What kind of cold cereal? Lucky Charms, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Do you know what it means to eat out of a bag and just a bag? What are you talking about? It's a bag. It's just a bag filled with cereal.
There's no name on
Ain't
it.
no name. It's the orange bag or the blue bag. Which one you got? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I ain't never got that. Well, okay, then we different economic situations. Your parents are mindful of money. My parents, well, we're learning a lot of lessons. Okay, so
We're learning a lot.
I learned a lot. Okay, and it's like to me in this situation and scenario of like the holidays is like, yeah, you get these extra little touches and moments and like energy that you just don't usually get. Maybe it's, just having those, like those conversations or being around like those grown conversations where you probably shouldn't be, but you're entertained because everybody getting loose and they sip a little this, that, and they
Oh, the
start getting a
card
little
table.
goodness, you know what I'm saying? Or the music jamming, everybody dancing. You were like, I didn't know my parents could dance. Like, what is going on? Like, huh? And then you like, oh, all right, well, I'm gonna get out there, right? You're gonna hear all the classics, all the oldies. And it's just this totally different vibe that you don't get any other time of the year, right? Like to come
Right.
to your grandmother's house and see from every step, every couch, every seat, every corner, every crevice, there's a conversation being had, right? Or like someone who it just brought in all the soda, and they're like, "Oh, crack that open," and you forget like it just was sitting in the back of your uncle's car fumbling around. This is about to be an explosion in the kitchen. Here we go. Orange soda on everybody, right? And there's those memories that you just don't forget where it's like, oh, can you pour me something to drink? And they hand you the cup upside down and they're like, all right, you ready to pour it up? I'm like, no, why you put the cup upside down? What you doing? Oh, look at you. You thinking I see you, boy. You know, smart. Okay. I'm like, man, I ain't stupid. I can see with my eyes. Like, you're not tricking me. But in their mind, they're like, you dumb. You don't know nothing. Ha ha ha. Here's my joke. Right. So it's like all these little memories that start to confine and build up where you don't even like you don't realize till later the profound impact, right? Like you were saying about, being able to hand this little child a camera and now seeing that relationship kind of blossom in a totally different vision or a totally different way, right? And it's those
Right.
same things where it's like, yeah, I might be playing video games or I might get a little extra time, but this was my way of building community. This was my way of being able to have, kinship, right, with my loved ones, because it's a safe activity we're doing in the house, right? Because sometimes you go outside, might not be safe, right? Sometimes you go outside, you might be like, it's a little sketchy out here, right? But we're
Like my
inside,
auntie
we're playing.
said, there's no good neighborhood in San Francisco.
Ain't no good, no matter where you at.
There's
Okay,
no good safe neighborhood. It's none in San Francisco.
ain't
They don't
none.
exist.
Don't exist, and it's and it is about the perception, right? It's about kind of like, you know how you walking around, right? Like, how are you walking around? Who are you, right? Like you were saying, is it safe to say hi, right? Like, sometimes it ain't. Sometimes, depending on who you are, where you at, and what's going on, right? You got to be mindful, cognizant of the situation. Sometimes, you learn different levels of negotiation, because the negotiation thing, the piece that you're negotiating, is your life and your safety, right? So you learn how to operate communication on a higher frequency than most people, because you can see, right? You can read the energy, you read the room, you understand what the value is. And so for me, it was a thing where holidays was a way to decompress a lot of that, right? A way to kind of like really just kind of be like, oh, I ain't got to get ready for school today. I could really be in my funk
Right. Right.
today.
Ready for school is a different thing for a lot of people. Right. It's interesting because it's like an unfair advantage, right? But it's unfair because you shouldn't have to develop that skill to where you feel threatened or you're cognizant of threats that may happen upon you in transit from home to school or school to home or wherever you're going.
Or
You
just
shouldn't
being at
have to
home.
you shouldn't have to learn a skill. Like it's like if if the if you're responding to the bear and then the bear is at home every day, right? Then like chemically there's something happening to your brain where you're going through this fight or flight on a regular basis. Fight, flight, or freeze. When your brain is going through that on a regular basis, chemically, you're evolving because of the repetition. The reps that you're getting at this exercise is more than the average person. And developmentally, it's developing something far, quicker than you should, just from a brain development standpoint.
And the thing is that like, I've said it on this podcast many times. Time is racist. And I don't mean that in the scientific sense of measurement. I mean that in the
Come on,
westernized
man.
society standard.
Time hate black people too.
Time hate black people too. Why do you think they be calling it CP time? Because that's a way for them to dignify their standardization of who we are and their kind of crystallization of measurement, right? It's time is time. It don't care about nobody. It's gonna move, right? But there's a society that has been created and like organized in a way where we're not going to take into account what are the challenges or what are the bear, right? Do you live with a bear, right? Time, we ain't gonna pay attention to if you got a bear, like, and the people who,
How many bears?
how many bears, right?
And then
Is
how
there a
many
bear?
bears do you have to pass on the way to school?
Is there a bear in the house? A bear outside the house? A bear down the block? Is there how many bears on the block? Like, what I'm saying? But the thing is, we don't take that into account when we assume Well, you here right now, so we hold you to the same universal standard, even though the world won't hold you to the same universal standard, right? We're gonna say that that's what it is when in reality we're lying, right? Like, but when do you get away from that? When y'all give me these 2 weeks, right? Y'all give me these 2 weeks, this time that I get to spend with my family to get reacquainted, refamiliar, re-energized, right? Like the winter is a dark time, it's a cold time, right? I can tell you how many, like, we lived in a house where we had my uncle downstairs. My uncle was a smoker. So we had all the vents taped up in the house, which meant that nobody got to use centralized heating, right? Don't talk about the households where you just didn't have centralized heating, because then you'd be like, we all got a blanket and we all like huddled on like on a couch together, like trying to create warmth, just sitting next to each other, like fog coming out your breath. And you got hardwood floors, ice skate. You just skating on the floor, right? Like you ain't getting ready for school. You don't even put on socks. You just run everywhere. You just try to run and create friction and heat every time you get up. Like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. You don't let me run like a rat. Let me get to the bathroom. Oh, maybe the hot water work. Let me turn the hot water on. I'll burn myself. All right, back, get into the couch. Oh, I'm wrapped up in a blanket, right? So it's
Yeah.
like one of those things where these moments you don't really like, you don't really trip off of it until you have the ability to contrast and compare to other people. Like, how did you grow up and what did you experience? And it's like, oh, well, okay. And in our household, what we did, right, what we had access to, we in my household, it was like you were lucky to see a kind of elaborate, vibrant Christmas where it's like everything's done up. Like I remember one time we had a Christmas tree. My dad made some sticks, got some nylon neon thread, and like just rounded up to look like a tree, right? Like we didn't have a Christmas tree. He finds some old Christmas lights and then designed a tree on the window of our house. So it's like we got a tree, right? And it's like those are the memories right next to the memories of we got a tree, it's done up, it got a star on top, we got all the lights popping, and we got gifts, right? Right next to the ones where it's like, oh, well, we're going to have to negotiate in March for December to put it on layaway so we can hopefully get it off by that time, right? And then, yeah, like you got Christmas gifts, right? So these all are different memories that you don't really trip off until you're later, much older. How did they come together? And so that was one Christmas I can recall: Nintendo versus Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo.
Mm.
But you brought out a Nintendo 64. Did you get a Nintendo 64 on Christmas?
Nah, I didn't get it on Christmas. I saved up my money and bought it during the summer sometime. Caught the bus downtown, old school FAO Schwartz when we had one in the city. Caught the bus down there because I was like, if I'm gonna go anywhere to get one, I'm gonna go there. Caught the 15 Third Street
Right there,
downtown,
block away.
right there. I just walk on over off of Kearney and and be right there. Um, what is that? Stockton.
Yeah.
Um,
For
and
those that don't know, FL Schwartz is a toy store that was like 3 or 4 stories, right? And it was in the middle of downtown San Francisco. They had one in New York, and they had like, if anybody's seen a movie Big with Tom Hanks, there's a scene where he goes into the toy store and he's playing the piano, which is on the floor. FL Schwartz had that piano. That was the
they
store he was
did
in.
they did have that. It was and it was a store big enough with enough floor space to have a piano on the floor in the first place. But I think I got that and Killer Instinct was my first game because I had siblings, and so it had to be a multiplayer game. I wasn't getting around playing nothing by myself.
How
Like
many siblings did you grow up with?
I grew up with three, and I had two first cousins that was at the house a lot. Um, and so when you talk about sharing a bed, we take a bunk bed and share between 3 and 4 people sometimes. You know, because your cousins is over. You know, that's just the life you live, and the
Any
cousins
of your
is over.
cousins try to have you swimming like during the night? Like, did any of them like, hey, where'd all this extra liquid come from? Why are we swimming in
No,
the bed?
my
You
cousins was
blessed,
older. My cousins was older than me. I am fortunate and
blessed,
and
blessed.
and highly blessed and highly favored.
Was not
Um,
so blessed in these parts of the world
be,
at
because
all.
because I can't tread water too well. Cause I'm very very fortunate.
I
because
got
I'm
lucky one time. I remember it happened, but I ain't get nothing on. I was like, what? Okay, this. You know what? I ain't mad at you, bruh. Thank you. Whatever you did, if you got to do this again, do it just like that. Don't you? I got you with the drawers and the pants. Don't worry about it. Just take a quick little shower. You know, get that off. You get that essence, that essence, that smell. I mean, you ain't never been around that essence. You ain't never had that smell where you just man that essence in the room. Like it's just that stench, that pissy bed smell. Like it's like everywhere. It's like you can't get away from it. You ain't never had that.
I'm blessed, blessed,
Blessings to you
blessed,
because I was unfortunate.
and God is still blessing me.
I mean, I wasn't the one, just to be clear. Like I was OCD even as a little kid. I was like, I gotta keep everything clean, everything gotta be nice and smell good, right? I had to keep it nice. But when you go to your cousin's house and you be like, why is the controller feel like it's just dipped in chicken grease? Like, what is going on here? So
Oh, oh, if there's any way to keep me from playing video games, it is a jacked up, dirty
you ain't
controller.
never seen this one before where you like where you see your like they rubbing their jeans, they pants, they just start putting it on their hand just heck hard, like, okay, now I can play again. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like I remember seeing like a Sega Genesis controller a couple holidays where it was like it was more shinier than the light on the ceiling. Like it was just super bright. Like I was like, what's all this shine? I was like, is this wearing grease? Like is this, he got to go out to the it must be Sunday service.
Why?
He gotta go to
Why
church.
is he why is he moisturized?
Real. Like that thing dipped in baby oil. What are we doing over here?
He got
I
on more
mean,
lotion than me.
yeah, for sure. It was, had the elbows popping straight, looking like it was outside on the streets. But I mean, any other distinct, kind of Christmas memories that you could think of where it was like that moment where it's like, did this just happen?
Uh, so a lot of cool things happened during Christmas, just with my family. Um, the Luther Vandross Christmas songs was big, and then my uncle was a singer in a group, and they put out a Christmas album, and so when that came out, and maybe then for like the next 3 years, and then sporadically after that, we was always listening to the Mighty Prince singers Christmas album, like it was just as good as the it was pretty good. So it's
It was
just as good, just
good.
as good. It
Yeah,
was for us. It was just as good as the Luther Vandross Christmas music.
exactly. For
Um,
y'all. Yeah, for
for
y'all,
yeah,
y'all
for
better
our,
act
for
good.
yeah, for now, we wasn't acting. It was solid. So
Okay, that's what's
we
up.
we yeah, we was good. But I really always enjoyed like all the couches and chairs being full, and then like the shifting as people ate. It's like if you was done eating, you was getting up, and so somebody else could sit down and eat. Uh, and then just the smaller people sitting on the floor at the coffee table and using the coffee table, or sitting in another room and setting up a TV in another room so folks could watch a different movie or the same movie on the dinner trays, in another room, and it may just be two people in there, but that's where they eating at, so that's where they at, and we'll see them when they done with their plate and they come back, and hang out with everybody. But as just like sometimes it was more people during Christmas at a Christmas Eve than others, and all that stuff was live to me, just that we could sit up under each other and be that close and be comfortable with each other. Um, not harbor anything. I'm really grateful that my family has always loved each other, and there were different times, I guess, where uh, we were occupied and members couldn't be there, and sometimes we had somber moments where we had lost people, you know, and we lost people in November over the years, and it was really tough for us to navigate the holiday seasons after those losses. Immediately after those losses,
Definitely.
those are really really tough for us as well. And so, but like this year when you say, oh man, like I'm losing it, And I feel like, yeah, we've lost a lot, and then we gained a lot too. We've gained a lot this year, and I feel like we've had to plant things and other things grow out of them. And it's really been cool to kind of see, growth in areas, uh, and setting boundaries, and removing barriers, to give and receive love. And what does love looking like in public? What is, working for justice in different areas, and being able to serve, and shed light on things, and also just learn also about other groups, of marginalized peoples, and how they're navigating this construct of, capitalism, this experiment of this democracy, of the, U.S. government. It's been interesting, and really humbling to learn about what other people are going through. It's like we coming off the heels of a 250 million plus, people protest, in India, largest strike, we've ever seen. And it's barely getting any coverage. It's barely being talked about. What's most important, you know, for media cycles is, the money being made by this vaccine. And meanwhile, farmers is, trying to fight to keep their livelihood, in other countries, while governments is trying to privatize, corporations is trying to privatize, farmland. It's all hitting the fan in some ways, and I think it's supposed to do that. But things become very apparent when it hits the fan.
Oh yeah. What people do in the dark come to the light. And when it comes to the light, we gonna get busy.
True that.
I mean, it is a thing, yeah. Like, I mean, I just looked it up while you said it, and I was like, man, like, you know, it's yeah, it's a thing right now. We're at a place of unrest, right? Like I said in the beginning, like, yeah, I'm over it. I'm over this because it's like I understand what my time is worth, what my values are. This has been most critical, like so critical for me to find and discover my most authentic self. We always say it, but more than ever is it highlighted in a period when you're being tested and challenged with adversity in so many different ways, right? And so for me, one thing that I you know, had to really, really process was my need and ability, my eagerness to want to battle my demons, right? Like I'm the type of person that's hypercritical of myself because I want to be at my best so I can be at my best to my partner. I want to be at my best for my family. I want to be at my best for my community because I'm only going to be able to be there for them if I'm really there for myself, right? It's I've learned the value in that sustainability, and 2020 has shown me how sustainable certain things can be and how unsustainable certain things can be, right? And so for me, the reason why, I wanted to talk about the holidays is because I feel like it's a period of time where people can recharge, right? I know some people may hear this and be like, you don't know what you talk about. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what I'm living. You don't know how I'm feeling. And you're right. I don't. And I do remember at one point in my life, I would say the same things. I would echo the same sentiments where I would have and harbor those same feelings. I learned, at least for myself, can't say it works for everybody, but I can say
Yeah.
it worked for me, is that I had to come to terms and come to grips with what the things I could actually control are. And a lot of it comes to how I receive what's being given to me. And it starts here, right? It's manifested in the heart, but it's in the mind. So I have to be mindful of how I'm choosing to receive things, and I have to be mindful of my perspective. So to me, I just want people to understand that in this era that we live in, I could see the harm and I do speak to it and I do say how it's harmed me. But to me, right, I'm doing the best I can to be mindful of how I'm receiving it and how I'm taking it. So that way I'm able to be of support of, either wellness, of health, of repairing, of restoring to those around me because things will happen I can't control. But for what I can is like when you say something to me, I have to remind myself not to engage with my feelings, but to engage with what's being said. And then from there, is what you're saying to me harmful based off of you just causing harm because you're in harm? Because if that's the case, we can resolve that. We can repair that. I'm here for it. Not everybody. Know your capacities, know your limitations.
Right.
But for me, I'm mindful, okay, you know what? I gotta pull back. I gotta step outside myself. I gotta see what's going on because there's a reason, right? And it hasn't always been that way, but I had to work towards it. I had to develop those abilities. And so this is a time for me to not only reflect on the past, but to be mindful of what I want for my future. Yeah, I'm gonna take some time off. Yeah, it's the holidays. Yeah, I I haven't necessarily gone into the consumerish route, right? I've definitely learned on the, what is the production versus the consumption, right? What am I producing versus what am I consuming, right? And people be like, what the heck you talking about, bro? Look, what is the money I'm making versus the money I'm spending, right? What is it that I am creating and what am I taking up? What am I eating up, right? And so that's the thing that right now I'm really mindful of in this transformative time, in this time of holidays. But seeing the world go through its many struggles, seeing all the things that are happening, sometimes it's good to just sit back and reflect on where we came from, what we went through. Because, going back to the holiday, focus at hand, like there has been those, you brought it up, like those losses, right? And how do we kind of not necessarily fill the void, but honor those who might not be able to be present with us, right? How do we keep their presence? I mean, I could do that too. You know me, ain't enough for me to just hit the hand, be like, yeah, out here. But it is one of those things where I look at like, you know, uh, what is the way that I honor the people that are no longer with us? Because I said starting off right, like 11 siblings from my grandmother. Now we're less than half of those siblings, right? Now a lot of them we lost because of health, right? Not because of old age. It was because
Right.
again we live in a society in a world where there's certain odds stacked against people, especially when you look of a certain way, right? Certain pigmentation, certain color. And in my
True.
family, I've seen the multitude of kind of like what that can look like and how that can be. And then how do you make the new, kind of behaviors and habits so that doesn't happen, that doesn't become the norm, right? And so yeah, like right now, it's a time to reflect and think on the aunties and the cousins and the family members who aren't here, but to rejoice and be happy that I even had those memories, that I had those moments to be thankful. I can choose how I see it, right? Not everybody might not, is able to engage in that way, but if I can, I will, and I'm going to choose to, right? I'm going to honor them in a way that I feel like is respectful to their memory and love them how I would want to love them, right? Or how I would want them to love me, right? Because may not have that instant gratification of calling them or seeing them or knowing they're there. But I do have those memories and I hold on and I cherish them, especially when I know there's so much unrest, there's so much going on in the world, and I'm going to fight it. I'm going to be there in the battlefield, right? The reason why I wear the mask is so I could do the job, okay? So I don't have to compromise my people, right? It's to get you, to blind you, so you don't have to see who I am. Aha! But again, work to be done. I'm gonna get the work done. But I gotta repair myself. I gotta heal myself. I gotta restore myself, and I gotta reflect. And I think that yeah, the holidays. I could think of the fights or the when you don't realize like, okay, I had a family member, and I knew it because it was at the time it was funny, but then you realize how sad it is after, right? And it's
Mm.
like they battling addiction, right? They are in the battle of addiction, the relationship of like a harmful sense of self. And in the moment you seeing them act and you're like, this is hilarious. Like, they're around other family members, they're acting in a way they normally wouldn't have because they are inebriated. But you can't process what's happening until much later after the fact where you're like, oh man, you were actually going through a crisis. And in the moment, I couldn't see beyond what was happening in front of me. So on one end, it's like, haha, hee hee, ho ho. And like, yeah, this is classic material for like a stand-up if I was to ever be a comedian. But on the other end, is to say, okay, now I know that behavior. I know what to look out for. I know what to see.
Right.
There's something to be learned from this moment, right? Not everyone saw it and picked up on it. They just thought, oh, he tripping. Nah, this a different type of trip. And for me, right, I can now be attentive to their needs because it ain't about me seeing a crisis as much as it is being ready and prepared when a crisis comes, right? Because it's usually they function how they function. It's not until they start to see, oh, I'm in a crisis, I need support, that they're willing to ask for support, right? Sometimes we want to help people, ain't ready to be helped. And we have to be mindful of that. Like we could see the signs, but that's more for us to prepare ourselves for the response and what's to come because it is going to do some level of damage to you. And that could mean that could manifest in so many different ways, right? That could be like your uncle who you know they're diabetic and they like, look, I know I ain't supposed to have this cake, but can you just give me this slice of cake? Now we know from last year, almost went in a diabetic coma, almost went in a shock. Sugar levels went through the roof, right? And sometimes we'd be like, hey, this is dangerous. So I need to prepare myself to have that conversation. Be like, yep, I got to go. I'm going downstairs. I'm
Right.
going outside. So again, I just want to see how people are able to prepare themselves for those events, those conversations, and to just be mindful of those things because it can be triggering, right? It can stir up a negative feelings or horrible emotions, and as they classically said, right? Days are shorter, nights are longer, and that does something to everyone. So I just want people to be mindful, rejoice, be happy, enjoy yourselves. But again, like, this is the holidays. Get through it safely, get through it together, however that looks, virtually, remotely, distanced, but safely, right? It's still going on. It ain't over. And we have to do what we can to enjoy the process. And yeah, that's just
True.
that's a snippet. But since we probably gonna do this for a couple of years, I'll save some of the other memories that I got, especially around the Census before, because I'm like, bruh, Christmas 1997, 1998. Oh my god,
Wow.
because 1996 is when it came out, but 98. Oh my,
98.
oh my.
NFL quarterback club 98.
See how the number just stick in your mind? 98. Oh my god. Right? Come on. Tell me about it. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna say that for another time. We ain't gonna get too deep in that. We're gonna put that in the
Cause
parking lot.
cause that was also PlayStation game
Oh,
day.
PlayStation. See, you thinking
Game
now.
game day football was
Wheels
a
is
thing.
turning. Remember Madden 97 when it first came to PS1? Oh, the wheels is turning. Oh, okay,
Oh,
here we go.
Madden 64.
Oh, here we go. NFL Blitz. Oh, here we go. Wheels is turning, right? So,
Man,
it's just
Chris, it was good. There were good Christmas time. It was good Christmas moments in those days because my older brother, my older siblings, and my cousins, they were not about bringing video games to my auntie's house for the holidays. Even more so, we didn't at all bring anything on Christmas to my grandmother's house, but I definitely brought the system at Thanksgiving because there was space, and it's interesting like to have that the freedom that we had. I think we took for granted a little bit. Uh, the freedom to make that choice, but also the freedom of an extra room, right? Separate from everybody where we didn't disturb anything. We can hide away and be little kids and, you know, be, hybrid otaku and just, be off to ourselves and and play the game. So like that was really cool. And I think now in this year, it's important to acknowledge the freedoms that we have, not just to hold on to them and fight for them, but to also acknowledge where they are, the choices that we get to make, and the freedom that we get to have while it's here, and to acknowledge when it's being impressed upon or impressed on, and what does that look like to enjoy that freedom? What does that look like to give us permission uh, to experience that freedom? Whether it's to you know to go on a walk or hike or to sing or to dance, right? There are freedoms just to experience life in a new way and change your perspective and see with younger eyes, or eyes that are looking to discover and explore and feel that joy of newness and discovery, and be excited about it and make it something that you take into the next year and hold on to that freedom. And I think a lot of people may have, acknowledged their freedom of the collective voice in some of these protests this year. Thousands of protests across the planet, and even more so, so many people voted this year around the planet. And being able to acknowledge their voice, and that collectively we can make changes, we can make build influence, but also that we still need to bring more people on to be aware that they can vote, to be aware that they have a say, and it's not the one vote that counts. It's the one vote in the one direction, and that's coming to understanding, regardless of parties we're affiliated with, regardless of the stance of policies, or where money should go, we can still hold elected officials accountable, you know, with our votes, with our taxes, with our EDD, unemployment assistance. Like, we can still choose, to vote differently. And I've said it before, like, we vote with our dollars, and it's still opportunity to use our voices, are now awoken voices, now are vibrant, collectively loud voices. I feel like we can keep that momentum and keep that energy into the next year. Not rely on sports to provide escapism and dilute our passion and our empathy and our awareness, but to stay focused on what people are going through, and stay focused on the solutions, because the solutions, I can think, are right in front of us. Like, we have leaders who are younger than us, who are willing to step up, who are willing to say what they need to say and teach us. And if we could help them navigate and be a legend and be a compass and be uh, map makers and route makers for them, we can follow them as they choose routes. But we got to give them maps and say, hey, this is the map. Show us the best route. Young people, you're whole people with whole lives and whole perspectives, and you are seeing much more of the world, but you are seeing a future because you are envisioning something that's not there for us. And we need those young people to lead us and follow us. Um, like, I'm really grateful for, again, for shout out to our producer, um, who who is leading us. And as much as she may say that, you know, we're giving her gems, I think she's invigorating us and dropping gems for us as well. And it's really dope that she holds us accountable to step our game up, to work on our inclusivity and work on our dated sometimes perspectives of the world. And I think we're all growing because of her is actual leadership. um you know and it's really cool to see that. But we have a lot more work to do and a lot more listening ahead of us. Holidays, man.
Holidays, holidays. You know what I'm saying? One of those things where you know, for those who are in a position, don't be afraid to lead, and for those in the other position, don't be afraid to follow. It is a situation where there's something to be learned in both perspectives, right? It's not about superiority. It's not about changing the value. It's about a role and responsibility. That's all it is. Doesn't make you any less significant to be in any other role, right? It's just if it's needed, it's necessary, right? And so with that, I think that right now is a good time than any, right? I just want to put out some things, a little housekeeping. I got another project. I just released Let's Get a Gospel. No, it's not a gospel album, but it is a gospel nonetheless. Like I said, it's Let's Get a Gospel. It's available on all platforms. But on the other end, I got another project coming out on the 25th on Christmas, right? It's a collaborative project this time around. So Let's Get a Gospel. I did all the production, had a King on the beat. He helped me with a couple tracks, right? But this one is production like mainly by someone else, and I only help produce, like, co-produce 2 tracks, right? So I'm rapping. It's that lyricism. I'm talking about real lyricalness. If you're looking for some lyricals for the holidays, I definitely put some lyrics on this project. So, be on the lookout. It's called Symbiosis, right? It has to definitely do with the symbiotes. If anybody's a geek out there and knows about Spider-Man and Venom, right? Well, guess what? This is what happens. So that's on the 25th. We have a single coming out
I know what socks
on
to get you for Christmas.
Friday. We got a single coming out. So, just be on the lookout for that. But this is Lyrical Ones Podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're live on Twitch. We try to make sure we're every Wednesday. We're working on our timing. Next week we will be going live at 9. We do have a special guest who will be there.
PST.
Yes, Pacific Standard Time, West, y'all. But for those of y'all that are looking forward to that, please come through. It'll be another engaging and inspiring conversation, like always. But during this holiday season, everyone be safe, be thoughtful, be mindful. If you're not loving someone, make sure first and foremost you're loving yourself, and be well to yourself, be good to yourself. Affluence, any final words?
And if nobody told you today or this week that you are loved, Lyrical Ones loves you, and you could always come here for the love. Check out our Discord for more community, more interaction, more engagement, and I'm good. We almost at the year end. We be back next week though, so that's tight.
Oh yeah.
We ain't wrapping up the year yet, but as the year comes down, start to think about reflection and vision. Keep hoping, keep envisioning something better, something more. Sometimes even something less for self. Look at things we need to let go of, so that we can, receive more. That's all for me. Joe, we miss you. One, 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 one.